All right, good morning once again. So, in today's class, we'll be talking about functions and everything functions. So, if time permits us, we will discuss about modules, right? All right, so our main focus today is functions, and I hope time permits us to do justice to that. So I will start without wasting time. Please, you have to pay attention because I will be a little fast. So a function is a block of instructions that perform an actions once defined can be reused. So take note of that key function, that key word reused. Okay, we come to that and I'll take that again. A function is a block of instruction that perform an action, and once it's defined, you'll see, okay, that's another keyword, define. And once it's defined, is that the spelling, no? Can be reused. So function makes code more modular, right? Allowing you to use the same code over and over again. And in Python, it has numbers of built-in functions that you may be familiar with. Of course, we saw some functions. I told you these are all functions. So the falls into a built-in function. The print is also one of the functions we've been using very often since we've started. The int, of course, is also one of the built-in functions we'll be using very often. We saw something like the len. I told you these are all functions. There are a lot of them, but these are the ones we use very often during the course of the class since we resume. Okay, so of course you know what this one does. It's print an object to the terminal, and this it converts string or number data type to an integer data type, and the len returns the actual length of an object. So functions name, how can you identify them? It includes parentheses and may or may not, based on requirements, include parameters. Another keyword we look at what parameters are parameters. All right. So we've been working on several things, but we want to make it even more modular by putting everything under function. So we've been creating an hello world and all of that. Let's go do that with functions. So during the course of our practice, you get to see, reduce, define parameters. I think there is another one, arguments. Is that the spelling? I think it's this way, arguments. You get to see all of this and we will expatiate on them. Oh, this. Okay, so let's go create from here. We create a new file called fun.py. I try to always name my file to make my file name as descriptive as possible. So once you see the file name, you of course know what the content should look like. So we first of all talk that the function names, you see the parentheses and the def keyword. And this is short for define. This def is short for define. This you want to define a function. Let's define let's define my name. You did not. And what do we expect? Parentheses, of course. And to make it false, and to make it from the definition, we saw that it's a block of code, right? That does blah 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 blah. So which for to have that block, we include this semicolon. And once we hit down, you see that it automatically make an indent. And if you get to see, this should be a space of 4. So I will print a very simple greet message, a string, of course. Hello, UD nuts. All right. So now something very unique. Okay. First, a function is fully defined. We have content of a function, but this code cannot run. So there's something again called function call. You have to call this function before it runs. If I run this code now, let's experiment that. You see that it runs, no output was there. I wanted to save. If I save and run cd python, cd python, clear my screen, and from Python, I think I have fun.py, Python 3, fun, right, .py. Okay, it did not throw any error, but then again, no output because we did not call this function. Okay, so outside this function block, all right, I'll now call the function. Just this is the function name that I choose. Okay, so I'll now call the function. So if I save that, because what's wrong with me? If I save Control S, clear my screen, run that. Of course, you see this hello, you do that. What we've been doing before, but now we want to make our code even more modular, and then all of that. So this is just a simple applications of functions. We talked about strings, we talked about the if statement, loops, while loop nested, all of them could come under this function, just a call, and we are off. So I think we've answered one question. Now we've answered the define, we've answered function call, we saw that function call, we've answered this. Now let's answer this. Let's answer these two things. We get to reduce later. Let's answer parameters and arguments. So first of all, what are parameters? Parameters are name entity in a function definition, specifying an argument that the function can accept. I'll take that again. Parameters is a name entity in function definition, which specify an argument that the function can take. You see that in practice. So let me take this off, and let's just pick up something. Let's say UDNAT, and I'll say A, B, C, right? So these are parameters now. Of course, you saw from the definition that it's a name entity in a function definition. Okay, specifying the arguments that function can accept. So we want to answer, we'll answer what an argument is as we proceed. And let's just make a very simple illustration. A maybe equals to anything. Let's say x plus z, right? So z, not z, z. Yeah, it's showing error because there's no equality sign there. And that is gone. So I could have B equals to, yeah, let me just accept that. Okay, we look at this. This is what we have, and why the error. Explain this. Get to see out when we proceed. But if I want to answer that, I want to quickly switch this to maybe S. We have A plus B, and you see that is gone because it was defined. It was defined here, and if you see from the indent that C, the color in indent of C is not as bold and obvious as this. It is showing us that B, yes, C is not defined, is defined but not used. So we could say V equals to maybe Z, C plus A, right? And maybe anything X equals to B this time around plus C. All right. And from there, we could print what? We could print each individual character or anything. Print, I want to print S, comma, V, comma, X. All right, so what next do we do? Function call. Don't forget, we just call our function there. No, just the name of our function. Giving us this one. Then here comes the arguments. Remember, here is parameters, and here comes the argument. So you could pass anything to that. Anything to that. And of course, in this arrangement, A represents 6, B represents C represents 5. Okay. From you have to have 3 arguments here. It should not be less or it should not be more than. Right? So let me save that. Come here, clear my screen and run that. Okay. So automatically A is replaced with 6, right? B is replaced with 7. So 6 plus 7 is why we have 13 here. C is replaced with 5, and A, of course, is replaced with 6. So that's why we add 11 and so on and so forth. Any question?
No. Following.
Okay, so we should proceed. Sandra, any question?
No.
Okay, so we've worked with integer. Let's of course work with strings. Okay, so I'll still maintain that. Okay, and I'll pass the, Then let's say first name, RST, first name, last name. To make a block, you do that and come under. Right? So you could say, just a very simple, where is my cost? Print first name. Yeah, has to be maybe first name, first name. We've seen this plus last name. Okay, so if we come down and run all our code, UD-nuts, is that the spelling here? Then I'll pass in drag as first name. Then I'm just picture what is going on here. When I come, you tell me why we have this one and over. Okay, so can someone tell me why we have this one in here? Quickly, any idea? Oh, my people,
The
hope I'm
hyphen.
connected.
The hyphen.
Is that the iPhone? You know, Udwak, and this is a name and it's of string data type. Please don't forget this.
Not define it. You did not add the quotation sign.
Please don't forget this. So if I save that, let me take this up edit. So clear my screen and run form.spy to see Udwak above over. Right? So if I have one name here, maybe just the you should see that this last name immediately is like then here I rather put okay as my last name, right? Two things is either I include this space. Of course, you know the function of this is this very for readability sake. If not, you have Udrakabon and Owa joined together. So this is this. And I think, yeah, there's another way. Hope I don't forget that, which you could do like this. Right? So instead of that, you leave a space here. All right? You leave a space there. But the because you might forget to so this has no issues.
Sorry, we lost you for a
Okay.
while. Hello, Doc.
Oh, sorry. From where? Yeah, I'm with you. Sorry about that. From where, please?
We lost you when you were trying to explain
Can you hear me now?
the blank space from line 2.
Okay. Line 2. Okay, that was when we have something like this. Then we have another plus here with no space here, right? Okay, so I was saying that this phrase enables readability.
Sorry, me, I lost you from when you wrote define. You did not first name, last name. That's where I stopped to. The rest of the call was breaking. So I can see now. Hello.
A space here. Just leave that one,
Hello.
but the previous one is the standard one. Yes, I'm
Yes, I'm
Sandra,
saying
you have
that
a question?
I lost you from the first part.
Eh.
That time you wrote define, you did not first name, last name. So I can see now that you've changed it. Can you hear me?
I'm sorry. Yes, I'm hearing you. Glory, can you hear me? Let me know if it's only Sandra.
I can hear you, but we keep losing you
Glory.
at some point. I said I can hear you, but we keep losing you at some point.
Oh, network should not do this to us today. I think this is fast. Okay, so here we talked about we saw when we add function without no parameter. And here I'm trying to talk about functions, parameter is, and how to use it. Hope you did not lose me when I was defining parameter. Right?
Why did you remove the last name?
Okay. So I was saying that for a parameter, the exact number of parameters you input should be the exact number of arguments. So I was trying to differentiate a parameter and an argument. So parameter comes as function definition and argument comes as function call. All right. So as at that time you said you lost me, I used two parameters, first name and last name, right?
Yes.
And last, you saw something like that, last name underscore name. Right? So and okay, so this was how everything was then. So this first name plus space, this is a function of this, and last. And you could see, if I'm closing, you could see this very observant. You could see that the color in the last name is as bold as the first name. Why? Because it is defined and not used. Okay. So let me go back to initial what we have. So last name. And you can see that everything is normalized with the same color, indent, and all of that.
This call is still breaking.
So you have to also come here. Sorry?
I said the call is still breaking. But I can hear you, but it's breaking. It's not stable. Glory, can you hear her now?
Even set the recording.
Or is it from my own side? I cannot hear anything.
What now, Sandra?
I just started hearing you now.
Okay, so that's I'll switch my internet. So going forward, let's go. It will be audible. Please mute to save the recording. Okay, so I'll just quickly go over that again. This is all parameters, and at this point we have two parameters. Of course, the first name and the last name. And our print statement, I am telling it, okay, so at this point you print the first name here. This will be replaced with whatever argument I'll give here, and print the last name here. This last name will be replaced to whatever last what arguments I will give out here. And of course, this is a function of the space, telling it, okay, when you print it, make it readable by adding, including space. Okay, don't let it stick together and all of that. So I feed Ubrabo into first name and I feed Uwa into last name. So if I save that, come here, clear my screen, and run fonts. I think that's the file name, run fonts.py. So this is where we have Udrakabo Uwa. And I made mention that the number of parameters you imputed should be the number of, should have exact number of arguments. It should not be less, it should not be more. Okay. So if I do this now, if I take out this last name like this, automatically you see this one, because come on, where is this coming from? We don't expect this, we have it is. So let me do something here. Let me rather follow me, please. See what I'm doing. And at here, I'll take out this UA just to match up with the number of parameters we have. So if I save and run my screen, clear my screen rather, then run fonts.py, we have a global override. But I can do something here. I can take this just to show you. So if this is not included, all right, I could say say something this, and I'll say plus. Then I will do something like this. At here I'll leave a space, and I said Udrakabo is, and what's intelligence, what's to, so right. So you see that the number of parameter match the number of arguments here. Please follow. If I save that, clear my screen, then run fonts.py. Dragon is an intelligent tutor. Okay, so if it's with that, if I fit in something here that is outside the parameter, maybe Sandra. Okay, so if I save that, clear my screen, and run fonts.py, let's see what we will have. You see that error? The interpreter is frowning. Come on, we have only one parameter here. I can multiple arguments. All right, so from the error, it's telling us type error. What's UDNAT takes one positional argument, but two were given, which is this. So I believe that part is clear. Okay, yes. I'm still connected. All right, yeah.
Okay, but I just
wanted to yeah, go ahead.
Is it a must that the arguments should come under the print, or the prints can come last?
You meant this prints? No, this is function call. I don't know if you're confused. This is a function call. Of course, you saw when we did that without any arguments and any parameter, when we printed out a simple hello word. All right.
No, I'm talking about the arrangement. Can the print line be the last while this one goes second?
While line 4,
Yes.
while line 4 goes second. No, it's that is going to be weird because you are calling the function outside the command, outside you want it to what you want it to do. So you now have like your what you want to do outside the function. So it will be out of the scope of this function. I don't know if you get what I'm saying.
Yes.
It will be out of the scope of this function. So just to answer that question, everything that you want to do right in this question should be inside this function definition and not outside the function call, else it's out of scope.
Okay.
Okay, so instead of calling Sandra here, I could do something like this. I could, okay. Okay, so come here, do something like this instead. So last underscore name equals to Sandra, right? So I'll come here, this space and how it was before. So everywhere is good now. So if I save that, you don't have to fill in that here because you already signed a place all that. So it's so if I come down, clear my screen, one function, you see draggable Sandra. Are we together? Any question? Of course, you could have a string an integer. This is equals to maybe instead of say from here, I could say number non underscore followers, right? And I'll give it to maybe 5K, 5,000 followers. And instead of last name here, I'll rather replace it with numbers of followers. Then I could say maybe username. Replace that with username. Of course, you are seeing the warnings, running. Where is this coming from? Username. So you could say instead of reusable, the name is reusable and this. So if I save that, clear my screen, run fonts.py. Okay, so let's see. Username. Okay, from the error, yeah, can only concatenate string, not int. So does anybody have an idea what we should do here? Typecasting, don't forget now, you have to cast. All right, so let me even make it simple. I would rather do it this way. Please auto so that when you ask questions, you answer it. It means you are following. Say username, user underscore name.
Yeah. Okay, yeah.
is this username. And watch what I'm going to do, because I'm going to change data type now. I'm going to typecast it and say print numbers of followers and num of followers equals to this. Let's just take this out. Now, from here, I have to do something smart to clear the error. So I will put in the string function. All right, so this has turned this to string. Okay, so here numbers of followers. Is there any problem here?
I think you still have one more.
I should take this out. Yeah, I should take that out to wrap it. So if I save and clear my screen, run fonts.py, username, orderable numbers of followers. This. So don't always be afraid of the error message. Rather, the error message should help guide you. And of course, you can have a lot of function call here. I could have another function call unedited. This says Sandra and the number of followers. If I don't want it to still maintain 500, I will change the digits, right? And have this glory. No, not like this. Function call first. Glory. So I might want glory to share with this 5,000, all right? Or I may decide to give it a different number. So glory will share. I love glory. Let's the both of us share the same numbers of followers. So if I save that, clear my screen. Hope I'm connected. I'm still connected. Beautiful. Clear my screen and run fonts.py. Username is 5,000. Username is Sandra. Number of user is 2,000. Username is Glory. And of course, number of followers is 5,000. We share. Any question?
Please go up. I don't understand this part. So
From here, because I'll quickly take this once again. This at lines 1 is a normal function definition with our desired function name. This is a user-defined function name, of course. I put this when we go to the main function, we see that. So this is a user-defined function name that has parameter. The same thing we did, but I just changed application. I wanted to write an application that checks the numbers of the name of followers and the name of user and the number of followers. So this place will take in for the username at the argument. But instead of doing the same thing here and I now come and say 5,000 here, and now do what is called a placeholder, like this at numbers of followers at this point, or I assigned the number of followers to it instead of the way we did formally here. This is another application, another example. And from here, when we print it out without typecasting, it's throw an error at us. So I have to find a way of course, you can remember our string function. But before line 3, at line 2, I print username is username. Now, this username could be anything. I could say lady here, or I could say man here, I could say students here. It's nothing. But what matters is this. Of course, you've seen it from the color differences here, because which matches with this. So this we take for username, and this username will be replaced by what you feed into the argument, right? Then at line 3, I am for this number of followers, I am saying number of followers, which is nothing. I could have here total or total followers, total number of followers, nothing, anything. Remember, I told you the print statement is always late for you to fill in whatever you want to fill in. And this is an integer, but we cannot concatenate. Remember, we did join method when we're doing strings and all of that, but you cannot concatenate. They don't match. The data type does not match. This is a string. Of course, you know that names are string, but this is an integer. So from what we did the first week, we talked about typecasting. Of course, we need to typecast this integer to string so that we can join together. That's time we did that. All right. So I quickly had to change it to this, to typecast it to this. All right. So that is that, and we have our outputs here. Now, just to quickly really demonstrate that typecasting, when I needed to concatenate it, I could, of course, you know that the plus sign stands for typecasting. So I'll leave the space here. Sorry, to some reason, I don't know, I mistakenly hit a key that made my system sleep. All right, can you hear me now? Okay. So where did we stop? Okay, that was when I was trying to concatenate, right? Is that where we stopped, Glory?
Yes. But I'm
Okay,
getting
so
this whole thing mixed up. You said something about having the parameters being equal to the argument. So along the line now, we've gotten I've gotten somehow confused because you said we should have the same parameters and the same arguments. Along the line, you've made it to have, you've worked with two parameters and then one argument. So I'm kind of lost there.
Okay, for I mean then, okay, it's still the same parameter and the same number, right? From here, you see that I've assigned an argument to this parameter. It's called placeholder. If I've assigned a placeholder, which is an argument to this parameter, this. But you could see when I did a different thing at line 8, I did not want this username, Sandra, to have the same numbers of followers with others. So this automatically overrides this. Okay. So if I input something, if I come here and do something, this one will override. I don't know if you get what I'm saying. But with this now, I've already assigned this value to this. But since, okay, the interpreter gets to line 9 and see another number, another argument, automatically overrides this. So it's either you do it this way or you impute it this way, but let it be true. In the case that this place is empty, nothing is here, this place is assigned to nothing, that is when it will throw an error at us. But for here, have it at the back of your mind that we are having two parameters, arguments here, rather, which matches the numbers of arguments we have here. Does that answer your question? Or you are still confused somewhere, Glory?
Yes, I am. Maybe I'll have to watch rewatch the video so we can proceed.
Hopefully you get it tonight. So if I take it, clear my screen. Are you seeing that? Sandra, total number 2000, user Glory, total number 5. So that is Sandra, are you still in the call? I think I saw Promise join. Promise, any question? Only Glory.
No question.
All right. And for that, you can also call this like here default arguments, because I've given this already as default arguments. Okay, so at this same place, I initialize the parameter and I assign it this argument. So for this being assigned here, it's called a default argument. So we want to do something even more interesting now. We've been using print to take our output to the console, but let's do, just to answer this reusability of a function, which is one of the most important needs of a function. You saw that this thing, we reuse the function here. Instead of writing the same function for Glory, we use this function, just change the user. And instead of writing the same function for Sandra, we use this function and just to call it. So as we get deeper, we will see when we call this function from this file to another file, right? Take that again. As we proceed, you see when we get to call this function or some of the part of this function in another file. We've seen how beautiful and how Python can make our life easy. Okay, so that is that. I will do something now. And I talked about the return statement, and I mentioned that we've been using print to the console all this while. But in this example, I will get to show you how you can pass a parameter value into a function, and the function can also produce a value using the return function. Okay, so let's see how that is done. Of course, you know the first word is there, which define a function, and your own user um function name, however you call it. I would call this function add. Function add. Zone to take note of this one. It will help you in your calculator question projects, because after this function now you get to do your simple calculator application. So let's pass in an argument to that, a parameter rather, to that, and add this. So under this block we could have y equals to x, y equals to s plus 5. Okay, so normally we would say print y and print this and all of that, but down here we would rather use our return statement, return y. And after that, what would you do? Another way of calling a function is by passing it into a variable. Let's say result or output. Okay, let me call it output. Output, and I pass in 10 to this function call. This is at here is our function name that we define here, and I'm calling this function thing, and I'm assigning this function to a variable output. So right at line 6, I will print output. All right, I will print output. So of course the output will be whatever number we pass into the function call, and it gets replaced with this s, which is of course parameter. You can see that parameter s. So if I save that, come to the, let me pick my Ubuntu. If I save that and call what form.py, Python 3, what's the file name? Form, right? Form.py. Oh yeah, I'm not at the directory. You guys should be watching and call my attention to it. So we need to cd Python, and from there I'll call Python 3 form.py. Of course, we have that same here. So just to give you some little expo now into calculator function, you could change this. We just what to do in the next one is to just change the operator, maybe to, of course, you do this is for square. This 2 asterisk is for square. 1 is for multiplication. I'm showing you now. So if I multiply this with this, if I save it, clear my screen, and run that, we have 50. If I want to square it, you can do anything with it. Have you seen that? Okay, so if I save it, clear my screen, if we square 10 is 100.
I don't understand you.
You're getting there to where we have questions. Okay, just quickly, previously we've been using the print statement. I would have said print y here and complete what. But to make our function even more modular, we are going advanced, we are going deep now. So we have this return keyword. Okay, and of course, it returns this keyword now. You can pass a parameter to a value, whatever it is, to a function, and the function can also produce a value. That value will produce what's not only print function, but you can use return statement to do that. So remember, previously we would have said print y, right? But I'm returning y. So a function can also produce a value with the return statement. And also, please note that this return, once the interpreter sees this, it will exit a function. Okay, it will exit once it reaches this return this. So for that is saying, okay, so this is done. So it will just exit a function and optionally passes the expression back to the caller. Back to the caller. All right. That was Sandra. I don't know if that answers your questions.
Yes, please explain the 5 and 6 line.
5 and 6 9. Now this is our variable name. I could call this Sandra. It's nothing strange. It's a variable name that I was assigned this function call to. So it could be anything. It could be Sandra, it could be Glory, it could be X, it could be anything. So far it matches with the requirements of the correct way of naming and assigning a variable. No problem. It is anything, so prints it out. So the control is at this function call. So instead of using print statement, you use return and then you print out the what else the function call. So of course you saw what our output was. Are you still lost, or does that answer your question? Now let me even illustrate something to you. If I comment this line 3 out, if I comment it out, you will see that we will have no error, but we will not have any outputs. Return y, right? Oh, I did not save that. That is what it was strange. So if I save, all right, clear my screen. These are my things I'm moving again. Not the same thing. System wahala, is it hot? Okay, so that's what that would have done is it would have produced no outputs. Am I still together on the call? Okay, yes. It would have produced no outputs but no results. Like it would have produced no outputs but also not show any errors at us. All right, so let's look at another. I don't know to some this just but let's proceed. At least this side is still responding. We could have a loop here. Just any application can work. We could have a loop here. Maybe loop through. I can call it anything. Loop function loop. So we could look to what range, let's say 20 or we did for loop last class, so it's not strange. We say for X in range 20, right? Follow. Then before then, what should you even do? What should you even do? let me print it in now. Print x. But there should be a condition here. Okay, let me add a simple condition. So if x equals to, when x gets to 5, what do? Return. So return is as breakout. Of course, you know what break do? It stops there and exit out of the loop. So if it gets to 5, instead of that, return. And this, the loop will stop when x is equals to 5, right? I might even want to print out this part to help us. Okay, print could say anything below this line. Anyways, this line will not execute, right? Say this line will not execute, maybe because of the return statement. All right, so of course we make our own function. Where is my this thing? Make our own function called, what was a function? Loop. That's so if I save that, and hopefully my screen responds now. Okay, so if it doesn't respond, I have to use the run keyword. How many loop? It does not match. It should be at. Should match with this. So if I save that and run, it should print out 5. At 5. At 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Nothing comes out. Nothing brings. It exits out of the loop. Exactly, just this. I'll leave it for 2 seconds for you to digest it. If there's any question, directly, I will place it. Are we together? Hope I'm not disconnected.
Thinking that after the 5, it will now print this line will not execute.
It won't, because it's already a return. Mind you, let me really emphasize on this return statement.
So if you already knew that return, why did you add it? What was the purpose of adding it?
Yeah, for you to see where it stops. That from anything below the return statement is not coming out. And mind you, please, using the return statement, we then follow ends the function there. So the line outside will not print.
Okay.
Are you okay with that? So the return statement exits, like it just exits out. It exits a function. Okay, and the only thing it returns to the function called. Okay, so it exits out of this and return to function call to see, okay, if there is any command, if there is any input or what. Likewise, I told you that in Python, start interpreting code line by line and from left to right. Line 1, left to right, and gets to line 2. It does not jump to this, so it follows line by line and from left to right to interpret. Okay, so we've been using this is called user defined function. Okay, so let's get to see what is called the almighty main function. It's very important. We call it entry points, or where code division begins. So once you see this main function and you have other functions, every other function bows to it. So in some programming language like C programming, Java, and C++, the function or the program will not run without the main function. But Python is that flexible, is that liberal, you can do that. But in the presence of the main function, every other user-defined functions. All right, is that clear? So including a main function, though not required, but once it's included, can structure your Python program in a very logical way that puts the most important components of the program into one function, right? So it can also make our program easier for non-Python programmers to read and all of that. So from now, since the main function start is available, code execution starts from there. So let's see a very simple application of that. Up and still very audible. Okay, so I have to create another file to save this for those who will check out the code on the GitHub platform, and I'll name it maybe main.py. Okay, so we define a very simple greet message, maybe dev, very simple function, and maybe what's hello. Hello. Of course, you know the function syntax. This line is very important. You've seen the structure, you've seen the syntax. Anything outside that, you have your error to battle with. So I could print a very simple greet message. Welcome to class today, dear Python programmers. Right, you see that this is our usual function, I'll call it. But then again, we can reuse this function. You can call this inside the main function. Here comes our main function. You have to leave two steps. See what I did. How many can I like? So I left main. And under I'll call our function. Which is what we have here, just like when we call a function out. But now we've transferred control to the main. And I can even want to, if I call it this way, it will print out this. Or let me quickly say this is the main function. And here I will say print this is user defined function. Okay, just to note the difference. Okay, this is the main function, this is the defined function, and I call my function here. So if I save that, I don't know if my terminal is back. I wouldn't want that stress. Let me just run direct. Did I not save this? Main function, this. Okay. Let's see what the issue is. I'll get my terminal to maybe any error message like gone wrong. Okay, so it works. CD at times it's like that, so you have to leave it and come back. And Python 3. Python 3, what's the name of the file? Main. That's py. Okay. Maybe I've overlived the space. And it's out of that. Let's look at it. Hello prints this, announcing the main. This is main function. Okay. Save that. Run Python 3. Okay, still not. I think let's run it now. Okay, so let's see where the issue is. Def hello world prints this main. Okay, beautiful, beautiful. I just got it. So what should come to your mind when you don't have any book but you don't have your output? Anything at all? Any idea? We also have to call this main function. All right. Remember, we call this user-defined function inside the main function, but we run and we do not have any outputs. Okay, so there are things involved is once you don't have any output, it should come to your mind. Maybe your print statement is you are not printing anything to the console, or you are not calling your function if you're dealing with your function call, and one of them happens to be our case here. We will not call the main function. So if I save that, we have this. Let me take my screen up for you to see. This is the main function. Welcome to class, dear Python programmers. This is user-defined function. Do you know why this user-defined function comes last? Because you might be thinking you have this is user-defined function because of this. I told you that function starts from the main function and it starts from top to bottom, right? So we have this first. This is the main function before the function call. So that is why we having the main function before user-defined function. I don't know if that is clear. I will leave the screen for 2 seconds for you to look at it and digest. Maybe any question, or I should go over once again. Any question? Should we proceed? All right, so in the absence of no questions, I'm still even connected. Sandra, promise, can you hear me? Okay, beautiful. Okay, so let me do something here. Before this main function, I might want to have another very simple function just to illustrate one thing to you. Just return this add function add. Of course, we want to add to and I'll come to the main function and call it there. results. So I'll print results. I'll print results. Print results. S. Okay. From there. Now there's something. This we talked about the main function. There is this do something like this underscore underscore. I told you two underscore is called the underscore. So we could have another thing called main. It's a building in Python. This main now that I'm doing is the name of the scope where, please take note, where top level code will execute, right? So when the program is run from the standard input, this is where from the standard input, okay, a script or from an interactive prompt, standard input or interactive prompt, name is set equals to main. Let me take that again. So what that implies is that any name of the scope, okay, where the top level code is executed, like this main now, top level code will be executed here. So inside this, we have something like this to enable that to happen. We have if underscore underscore name. This name is your function, anything of that nature. If name equals to what? Equals to main. What happened? Do something. Now I want to apply this now. I want to apply this example. That is why I quickly added this for you. See, and all of this top level function, all of these, which are in the main, all right, and the main function will be called under. So before we have line 13, we have it's here. If you see, Python suggests that equals to name. This is where this one will now come in under its block. So everything that is under all other functions called under this main, everything is wrapped inside this main function, and we have it here. Please take note, we are going even there. That is why I've been telling you watch recordings, read the materials, just for you to follow. We've been doing all of this, but we are building from the foundation, from the basics, so we get to this level now. So I might decide to put all the main here, or I call all of these individual functions under. But since I have all of them under the main, this shouldn't give us any problem at all. Clear my screen. Run main, right? Main.py. Have you seen? It's first of all handles this for us. Welcome, this is main, what we had before. This is the main function here, which we have before we call our first function, the hello world, which brings this. And after that, you see, welcome to class today, dear Python programmers. This is a user-defined function. Of course, this comes together with user-defined function. And at here, we add a very simple function that adds two numbers together. Could be the one that adds two numbers just for to change the operator, maybe to asterisk, to multiply, to a slash, to divide, and all of that. But in our case, we made a function that adds two numbers together, which takes in the argument of 5 and 10. If you add 5 and 10 is 15. That is why we have 15 here. Any question, my amazing people? I know it's getting crazy, yes, because we are going somewhere. We are going somewhere. We are now done with basic things. Now going somewhere. Any question, Sandra? Promise, where's Glory? Are you lost somewhere?
Yes, please, I don't understand this last line 13 and 14. I don't understand it.
Okay, but you understand the rest, right? When we add this little function,
Yes, I do.
and you are lost from line 13, right? Okay, so we build from the
Yes.
basic. Yeah, I'll have to go over it again. We build from the basic. This is where we have this very simple function. Of course, you are used to this. You get the whole logic and the gist that happens here, right? So we get to where we add a very simple illustration of functions. This could be advanced, this could be sophisticated words. Once you get the logic, you get the syntax, you get the rule, you can build from there. And we could call this function without calling the main function. But to make our code even more modular, even more organized, I introduce the main function, which is send the control. Let me call it that way. Is the control. Control keeps here is the entry point where execution starts from. So it's just like once these are user-defined function and this is built-in function. So once all these user-defined functions sees this, they all bows to it. It's as the king of all the function. Of course, you see the main function. Now let me make it real. Now you have your GP tank at home as the main major source of water container, right? You have the GP tank, which is the main source of water container, and you have small buckets where you fetch water and stuff. So this small bucket in our own case is all this simple user-defined function, all this hello world, add, and all of that. So whatever you wish to name the function. So then you could say that this hello world function is your small bucket. It is a container, right, that contains all of this. This one is a small function container that does this simple application, adds to number. But the main container, the main function is this main function, just like your GP tank, which is the main source of water container. I've tried to relate it to real life now. And once, without this main function now, without this GP tank, if there's no water in GP tank, you have water in your pockets, you fetch water from GP tank, right? So everything comes like all other pockets bows to it, all other container bows to it. So all other functions bows to this main function. So it's called the main function, and the entry points via should start from, right? And you see, because of that, other functions are under it. Let me add it to real life and somehow in layman terms. Other functions are under it now because they all bow to this main function. Okay, and maybe this main function now has what is controlling it. If you don't pump water under it, this main function will not have anything, will not have water inside. So we shift it down here. So if the name of this everything, okay, is equals to main, oh yeah, print it, and we call what all of them are under main, right? We call the main function. And like I said, you can call the main function here, or you decide to call each individual function simply. So that is how we get to this line 13 and line 14.
Sorry,
So
please. This line 13, what is it checking for?
okay, this line 14, this main now that you are seeing is the name of a scope, all right, where top level functions, like I've said, will execute.
Okay.
I don't know if you get that. So when a program is run from standard input, we saw, or from a script, or from interactive prompts, So its name now, its name of that program, and we set it equals to main. I don't know any other way to put it now. Put anything we put under here, like anything here, we run the main program here. Just run the main program here. What controls this thing? Run in the program here. So as the main program, it runs what follows the if statement. And as a module, let's say it is, and not, and as a module, and not what is it called? Run follows the if statement. I believe that is clear. Don't be lost. You have the program and the recording, and I'll send you link of materials uh, to study. Then, like I said, I will make other subsequent videos outside the class to explain the concepts even further. Just to wrap up, because I want to stop here, believe you guys are beginning to get confused. So just digest this one now. But sure, you have to wrap up. That is why I said you have to work even more order because we are going to advance things now. So you don't expect, you see, we build from the basic and we are here. We started from a single line of print statement. We now enter strings. We now enter lists, tuples, dictionaries, if statement, loops. And today we are here at functions. So it's getting advanced. It's getting actually it's not complicated, but once you understand the syntax and all of that, you get the logic. All right. So just to wrap up, we say we're talking about functions, and functions we say are block of instructions, if I should say. Let me not use code again, that perform actions within a program. All right. Within a program, helping to make our code reusable. Of course, we see that reusable and more modular. We've seen the reusability of code of functions rather. We've talked about the define keyword, the def keyword, how it does the parameters. We differentiate between parameters and arguments. We saw function calls. And before this, before we even get here, we've been working with the print function, which is an inbuilt function. We saw the int, the length, and all of that. And we get to the main functions, which is the entry point, and we get to even this level. So we stop there for today. And for the meantime, before our next class, I will make a video and to explain some other concepts we are unable to cover today in class. I will still post it on the YouTube channel and I'll drop it on the group. Either way, you have access to it. And just to add, this week, this function you have, I will drop a material for you to go study. It's you. What will help we've done today will help you build your own simple calculator application. You start from there to work on it. It's just a function. It's very simple. Of course, I did some of them today, and you saw how we did it. You build a simple calculator application that will take inputs from the user, as from the terminal, using your input function. I'm giving you this for now. Then from that, when you are done, you now send it to me, right? Okay, so that is that. Let me stop there to save the recordings, and I will say other things that does not has to do with the recordings.